The planners were mostly Igbos, and you had Emmanuel Fajuna, Don Okafor, Zogu, you have Nwategu, you have Wale Ademoyega, who is Yoruba, by the way. And I say this to say that you cannot say that because the planners were majority Igbo, therefore it was an Igbo coup. Because if there was going to be a coup in the 1960s, most likely you would have more Igbos because they were more in the officer cadre of the army. So that's not the reason I'll call it an Igbo coup. So let's move that one away and go to the next one. The next one will be the victims. Who were the victims? The victims were everyone but Igbo. I was going to say something before I go to the victims. There's a book by one of the people whose names appear on all this nonsense lists they put all over social media. His name is Fola Oyewole. He wrote a book called The Reluctant Rebel. And this is what he said. So the coup happened in the middle of the night, 15th January. So that would be around 12 midnight, 1 a.m. Between that time, that was when the coup, was executed in 1966. Fola Oyewole was in his house. They came to pick him at 11:30 p.m. on January 14th. January 14th was when they picked him in 11:30 because the person was supposed to do what they needed backed out. So they had to go get him, and another guy was gotten from Apapa. His name is Ganiyu Adeleke. Rolly P, your uncle is Fola Oyewole? Wow. If you want to come up and speak about it, if you've read this book or you've heard from me, please feel free to come up. Thank you. And in his own words, Fola Oyewole said that when they got there, they told them what they had to do. And one of them, talking about Ganiyu Adeleke, said to them that he wanted to go and inform his family members. Ifajuna then appointed someone to go with him with the instruction that Tobalose Pene is gone here. Fola Oyewole was brought into the matter at 11:30 p.m. January 14th. And the coup happened less than an hour after he got into the mix. The same thing for Ganiyu Adeleke. The two of them went to prison for that, and the two of them eventually fought for Biafra alongside Adewale Ademoyega and Victor Banjo. And by the way, Victor Banjo was unalived by the same Ojukwu. So no, there is nothing like Yoruba people were there to plan anything. Even if Yoruba people all planned it, it will still not be Yoruba coup. You know why? I'm using the exact same yardstick I'm using for the Igbos. I'm not saying because Igbos planned it, therefore it's Igbo. Majority of the planners were Igbos because majority of the officers were Igbos, so it's understandable. Now the victims. You had a situation where the Premier of the North, Sardauna, was unalived with his wife, Hafsat. The Prime Minister of Nigeria, Tafawa Balewa, was unalived. The Premier of the West, S.L. Akintola, was unalived. The Federal Minister of Finance, Festus Okotie-Eboh, was unalived. The military officers from the North, Memalari, Lagema, Pam, and one more person or two, they were unalived. The one from the West, Ademulegun, with his 8-month pregnant wife, were unalived. And then you had Ralph Shodende, unalived. The only Igbo person, by the way, is from the Midwest, who was unalived because of his refusal to give them the keys to the armory. How do I know this? Read the oral speech that he delivered on 12th August 1968 at Addis Ababa. Author Unegbe was not on the list, and some writers have said that there was a personal vendetta between Victor Anufuro and Author Unegbe, and that's why he unalived him. The people whose names were on the list, who were Igbos, nobody touched them. And by the way, when you read the interview that Nzogu had with Dennis Ejindu, he mentioned, he was asked, plain and simple, this question was from Dennis. He said, were there tribal considerations in the planning and execution of the coup? And Nzogu said this. He said, in the north, no. In the south, yes. In other words, in the planning, there was no tribal consideration, but in the execution, there were tribal considerations. And he mentioned, Nzogu mentioned that the guys in the south failed them, that in the east, where something was supposed to happen, nothing happened in the east. If you read the 5 majors by Bengbile, you will see the names of people that are supposed to be unalived. Azikiwe was there. He ran away. And I'm not surprised. Everybody always runs away. Azikiwe ran away. Ojukwu also ran away later. But anyway, Azikiwe ran away. They said, what was this man's name? Michael Okpara was receiving a high delegation from Cyprus, as though the person was never going to leave anymore. To make matters worse, after Ifajuna unalived the Prime Minister in Lagos, he traveled to that same Enugu and had a meeting with the same Michael Okpara, but he didn't touch him, before he now left and moved to Ghana. The third person on the list, who was Igbo, was Irosi.